My name is Christian Rhoney. Here's my personal project. Exploring careers was my chosen subject. I'm a year 5 student here at Paisley with the dream of one day becoming a certified attorney. The purpose of this project was to open my mind to more career options other than mine. I met with 5 professionals in various careers, each doing their jobs for different amounts of years. There are 4 in this video, and that leaves another. It's a domestic violence attorney that I shadow over the summer. They all have unique qualities and areas of study such as teaching math in Asia, going to court, and managing money. They all use education as their key to success. So please enjoy this video. It will show you the rest.
Dean of the School of Health Sciences, Winston-Salem State University. As Dean and Professor, my responsibility is to make sure that our faculty and our students have the resources they need to do the work that they've been called to do. And so, in that regard, as an administrator, I have oversight of a number of programs, including the Division of Nursing, Departments of Occupational Therapy, Physical Therapy, Healthcare Management, and Clinical Laboratory Science. And so I have a number of people in the Office of the Dean who have oversight responsibilities as well, some aspects of our operation. And then we make sure that our programs maintain accreditation. We have good student outcomes in terms of board passage rates, that our students are placed in internships, and we have maintained good communication with our alumni, communicating with our chancellor and our provost, and the community at large. So it's a very detailed position that requires a lot of touch points, on campus, outside of campus, making sure we have a good face for the community, for our school, and that we have positive things that we can share and positive experiences for our faculty and for our students and for our staff.
Was being a dean of a school your dream job, or did you originally have other plans?
Well, from grade 4, I always thought that, teaching might be a good profession. And so then I went to the hospital when I was 12 years old, and I saw nurses. In those days, nurses wore white uniforms and starched caps. And I said, wow, that might be a cool thing to do. And so when I graduated from high school, I pursued nursing, and I did a program in nursing. And then I did that, and I ran into a classmate who did nursing with me, and I learned about becoming a PA. So I did that for a few years, and then I discovered my true love, which is working in academia. And so when I graduated from Howard, from the PA program there, they called me back 1 month later and asked me would I be interested in having a faculty position. I said, well, I'm not sure. I just graduated. I really like what I'm doing. And I was working in a student health center taking care of children, well, actually not children, but they were adults who were studying at George Washington University and taking care of them in a student health clinic. And I said, I'm not really sure. Let me think about it. And I thought about it a month later. I said, maybe I should pursue higher education, because I really do enjoy teaching. I enjoy being in a teaching environment. And so I did it, and the rest is history. That's when I really learned that I really like being in an educational setting where students are always learning. It keeps you focused, and you're always learning. And then I learned that I also enjoyed administration. So from that, I became a department chair. Then I directed some grants nationally and internationally, and then I became an associate dean, and then I was recruited here to Winston-Salem State to be dean of health sciences, and the rest is history. So, those early times in your life when you think there may be something you want to do, sometimes it really is what you should do, because you have these instincts very early on that this is what you like to do. And here I am doing what I thought I would like to do, being in an educational institution. Didn't know it would be higher education. I thought it may be at lower grades, or high school or junior high school. But this really is what I enjoy, because you get a chance to affect change in the life of people who want to help others. And being a dean, you get a chance to do a lot of that. You're working with students, you're working with faculty, you're working with people in administration and the community to make a difference, to make sure that these students get what they need to be great health professionals. And so it's a fun thing. I enjoy it.
Okay. What has been your greatest achievement?
There have been many. Okay. Before I became a dean, I was working at a university and I was able to get a $5 million grant. And to do work in Africa. And so educating other people who had health issues and how can we as health professionals do something to address those health issues. So that's one. Getting an award when I was the faculty member as Educator of the Year. So that was exciting. You know, my peers around the nation recognized my efforts. And then other great efforts, accomplishments, I think, you know, just achieving the opportunity to make a difference as a dean. I mean, I really enjoyed what I do. It's been fun. It's been 8 years come January, and it has been fabulous because you get a chance to have a vision and see it come to pass. And you can see the work that you do in the community through your students and working with your faculty, then creating opportunities that they would not have ordinarily had. And leading in some areas that other universities are not leading in. And so that has been a great achievement. So there have been many. It all depends on what area, what focus in life that I could talk about different stages of accomplishments. But they've all have been wonderful and have made my working in academia worthwhile.
Okay. What is the best part of your job?
You know, watching students come in when they're right out of high school, enter the university, a little bit nervous, not knowing what to expect, working with them, giving them some recommendations, and watching them grow and come into their own self. In a short period of time, within 2 to 3 years, you can see this major transformation. And by the time they graduate and they're a senior, you know, they're a totally different person in terms of the levels of maturity, the level of interest that they have, and their whole view of the world has been expanded. And to me, that's very exciting.
So what is the worst part of your job?
The worst part of the job, I think, is right now, because North Carolina has had major budget cuts, not having the resources that I would like to do all the things that I want to do. And so every now and then we lose students because they don't have the money to pay their tuition. And so the worst part is leaving a well-qualified student because they don't have the resources to pay to stay at college. And I think that if I was a wealthy woman, you know, it wouldn't happen. But the realities are that we live at a time where the resources have been cut and we can't save everyone. So that would probably say that's the worst part.
Okay. What's the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part, as I mentioned, the transformation in students, but also the transformation in faculty. When you see individuals come to take a faculty position and to watch them grow and develop and get them promoted and tenured. So they come in as an assistant professor. Within 5 years, many of them go on to become an associate professor and then a full professor. Watching them publish articles and write their own grants and just come into their own as a faculty member, as a professor, and they in turn have an impact on students that come their way. And so that has been awesome.
So for a high school student, what advice would you give them if they wanted to be an administrator in higher education?
Well, I think the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you get the best education that you can. Because as you grow and you develop in higher education, there's so many unanswered questions. And so it's important to know where you can find answers. And when you find those answers, remember the lessons, because history has a way of repeating itself. If you have one problem that addresses a particular area, you're likely to see it again. So you learn from your mistakes, and you try not to repeat the mistakes, but you learn the good and how you can affect change, and how you can make the life better for your students and for your faculty members, and for the community that you serve. And so just remembering the stories, and also as you're a high school student, remember to stay focused and to do your very best, because what you do in high school does matter. If you get bad grades and you don't get a good SAT score, you know, you may not be able to get into the school of your choice. And so doing your very best to get good grades and the best SAT score you can get may bring about scholarship dollars, and it helps you to get into a school of your choice. And a lot of students, I think, learn that they don't know how to delay gratification. So if you want to be an administrator, you have to be very careful in the choices that you make at a very early age. So getting married early is a good thing, but if you want to be an administrator, especially for a woman, it's not always easy. So you may want to sort of look at your life and map out a plan and decide what's the right age for me to make some of those decisions. So getting the education out of the way before you have children and before you get married, I think makes a big difference, because it's a little bit more difficult for women than it is for men, in my opinion, when you want to have an administrative job. And so just taking your time, doing well in school, pursuing the education, because other things will come later. And you can still have a very satisfying life, but just having focused on getting a good quality education, life experience, you can have something to offer an institution as an administrator. It's very important to delay those kinds of things. And being careful with your finances, because, you know, when you buy frivolous things, you don't have as much money to pay for your education. I put myself through school. My parents were not able to. And so just knowing how to balance your life, how to balance work, and how to balance your resources, all of that makes a big difference. As I mentioned earlier, so many students come in, they don't have the resources in place. Their parents are going through hard times, and the parent may lose a job. And so, but if you on your own can figure it out how to get the resources you need to stay in school, that makes a huge difference. And so, thinking ahead, planning ahead, putting off some things you can have later in life. You don't have to have everything right now. And, you know, there may be a special purse or car or something you want. It's okay to take the bus for a while and to have the money that you can get those things later. If you do well in school, get a career that you want, to become an administrator, you'll have the resources later to get what you want. And so sometimes it's worth the wait.
That's it. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Mr. Grant, thank you for meeting with me. I'm a sophomore at Paisley. Interview is for my personal project school assignment. Please introduce yourself by stating your name, title, and what company you work for, and also give a brief summary of what your job entails.
My name is Rick Grant. I'm the International Programs Coordinator here at Winston-Salem State University. That job is really sort of a combination of two different jobs, International Student Advisor and Study Abroad Advisor, which sort of tells you what I do, working with students who want to study abroad and working with students who are coming from abroad to study here.
Has this always been your dream job, or did you originally have other aspirations?
When I was a child, I wanted to drive the bus to Disneyland, so that's a fact. That is true. And later, when I was in junior high school, I wanted to be a dentist. And then when I was in high school, I wanted to be a teacher. And actually, I sort of got into this field through that teaching side of things. I was teaching ESL at a vocational school downtown Los Angeles. And a lot of the teachers there had studied abroad. Had worked abroad, worked in Japan, and so I wanted to try that. And then once I had done that, I sort of got very interested in that whole experience of studying and working abroad. And I came back to the U.S. and then I went back to Japan once more, and I got a job where I started being a study abroad advisor for students who wanted to come here or to England or China, things like that. So from that point, it became my dream job.
Okay. What has been your greatest achievement?
I don't know. I think helping on both sides. For me, I guess it's really helping people who wanted to do something like I wanted to do when I was young. So study abroad or visit other countries, but especially make that a bit easier. And when I actually studied abroad too when I was in college, but at that time I didn't go to, they had a study abroad office, but I didn't go there because I just assumed it had nothing to do with me. So I sort of did it all on my own, and I realized there were people like me who were in that sort of same mindset. And so in that sense, I think, helping people, get over that, that sort of problem, that sort of thinking to achieve what they want to do. And then on the other hand, having lived abroad and know the things that are difficult about doing that, helping people who have come here to sort of transition into life and to, make their plight easier. I also taught ESL at Guilford County Schools too, so I also did something similar. We got teaching ESL, so also working with the immigrant children there to help them, adapt to life here.
So what is the best part of your job?
I think working with the students, I guess.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Again, like I said, it's the being able to help people adapt to realize their dreams. I suppose that sounds kind of corny, but that sort of thing, to help them along in what they're trying to do in this sort of international context.
So what advice would you give to a high school student aspiring to be in your job field?
Plan on studying abroad so you get that experience, so you have an understanding of what it's all about, what it's like, on both sides of what the process is of going and the process is of actually living in this other culture, in this other country. And then make sure you go into a career field that is related to this area, whether that, they have international studies programs, international education, or even, ESL is a considered related field. So that gives you a chance to, interface more with students from other countries, things like that. Something that gives you that international contact is something I would recommend. And of course, making contacts in the field, joining organizations that are related to this, like we are all members of NAFSA. There's the state organization NCAIE, which is a free organization to join, so nothing lost there. And just learning the sort of things that are part of this job. Undergrad, I was a geography major. Well, I went to junior college first, community college first, so there I had no idea what I was going to study. I was still floating in a lawsuit. And so by the time my 2 years, which was really more like 3 years, because it was free when I went to school, so I was in no hurry to get out. But I finished with I had completed the undergrad lower division requirements for German, geography, and environmental studies. And so when I transferred to the full four university, I had to pick one. And so I went with geography because that seemed the most international. And it was from that field that I got my first job as an ESL teacher, from a fellow student who was teaching ESL part-time at that vocational school. So then my grad degree, so after that, so when I went to, as I said, I went to Japan and got a job teaching, but then I realized if I really wanted to do any sort of, higher level work, I was going to have some sort of degree that had, English as a second language on it. So I came back and I went to UCLA for a year, did a post-bac certificate program, teaching English as a second language, which was very new back then. There weren't very many places that had that. And then I went back to Japan for 10 years, and then after that I realized, well, if I want to teach at the university level, work at the university level, I'm going to need a master's degree. I had already been working, doing the study abroad advising. However, in the Japanese system, you don't have a job like mine where you're just an international student advisor or a study abroad advisor. You're a teacher no matter what. Even if you're not teaching, you're a teacher. So you have to, if I want to get a job at a university, I was going to have a master's degree. So I got my master's degree, got a job at university. I think maybe I taught one class in a semester, and the rest of the time was doing what I'm doing now. So the road is not always a clear one.
So do you know any Japanese?
Japanese? Well, I'm forgetting it quickly. Konnichiwa. I did study Chinese too, and I do tutor someone from church in Chinese. This time we were studying 我不舒服,我感冒了 and 当的什么什么什么什么的后 how to say when in Chinese. 当我累的时候, 当我 뭐酷的时候 etc.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Chambers, and I am a math teacher. I currently live in the United Arab Emirates. The emirate that I live in is called Abu Dhabi, and the city that I live in within that emirate is called Al Ain. I live in the desert, um, pretty far from any water, where we see camels crossing the street daily. So if you can imagine that, it's pretty hot here and dusty. But I do teach mathematics. I'm currently teaching sixth grade math, and I teach all girls in the school here in Al Ain. I came about this position online through an organization called Teachaway, and they specialize in placing teachers around the world to teach. I love world travel. That's always been something that I've been interested in, especially when I was in college at Winston-Salem State University. I was involved in the Student International Association, as well as the international programs there. And I was able to experience traveling firsthand while I was there within that program. I was able to go to Trinidad and Tobago with the organization, as well as do a summer abroad in Spain, where I lived with a host mother for 6 weeks, learning the Spanish language. So I've always loved to be in another country, something that has always intrigued me. So here I sit in the Middle East in the United Arab Emirates as a teacher, which is not always what I wanted to do. When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. That was just a thing for me. All the way up into college, I started out pre-med, and it just didn't click for me. So eventually I was persuaded into pursuing a degree in mathematics, which I never thought of before. I didn't know that you could actually get a degree in mathematics and do something with it. And from there, I kind of just fell into the teaching position. I had no desire whatsoever to teach. That was never something I thought that I would be doing. But lo and behold, here I sit as a math teacher. I've been teaching for about 4 years now. I'm working on my master's in education in the area of mathematics at this moment. So it's definitely become a career that I love. It's a passion, and I love to educate others, especially in the area of mathematics. That's not something that's really popular amongst African Americans, and so to be able to do that is just amazing to me. So that's about it. I don't know what else I can add to this other than I'm having a wonderful experience here in another country, and I encourage any and everyone that I encounter to get out and see the world. I mean, we have the whole world here for us, so you might as well experience it while you can. So if you're fortunate like I am to be able to pursue your career and travel at the same time, then I encourage you to do so. But I thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy this video.
Thank you, Mr. Brim, for meeting with me today for my personal project interviews. So please state your name, occupation, and company you work for.
My name is Sean Brim. The occupation I'm in is a research administrative coordinator, and I work for Wake Forest University Health Sciences.
And what are your degrees?
I have an associate degree in accounting. I have a 4-year degree in public administration, and I'm currently pursuing my MBA degree.
How did you become a research administrative coordinator, and did you stumble upon this job or work towards it?
It's a little bit of both. Working for Wake Forest University Health Sciences, I worked for about 6 years in the grant accounting office, and from there I transitioned to other positions. As I was a grant accountant, I worked for the radiology department and health service for their department. And through that, I built a relationship with them, and so they hired me to come aboard their crew to work with grants again in their department.
Can you speak on how you manage money?
Sure. I manage money basically because we manage grants for doctors and for the School of Medicine. A lot of times doctors will come up with some kind of bright idea as far as research, and they'll go to the NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, or maybe the National Science Foundation, to get grant money to help them do their research. And so from there, we have to make sure that that money is managed properly. And what I basically do is from start to finish, I help that PI in any way on the clerical part and administrative and the finance part get that grant done.
What is the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is the freedom and flexibility. I really enjoy working with the doctors and the people in my department. They trust me and they value me, and I really appreciate that. So that's the best part of my job.
What is the worst part of your job?
The worst part of my job probably has to do with time management when it comes to getting other information from my team members. A lot of times I want things right away, but the doctor is sometimes actually a medical doctor and has a PhD, so they could also be helping patients, and in the time that they have left, they're doing the research. So there's a lot of time constraints with that. I have to realize that sometimes that doctor's really busy and I may need a budget from him, but I have to realize and wait on what to go forward with the grant.
What advice would you give to a high school student aspiring to be in your career field?
Well, there's two parts of advice that I would give, because I see it as 2 points of view. Number one, I would steer high school students to become PIs, which is principal investigators or doctors, to do research. That niche is really missing in today's society. People your age may have the next cure for cancer. Of course, you've heard about cloning, what's going on. The scientific arena is so vast that I would steer them in that direction. But I will also steer somebody with a finance mind who doesn't want to do the research part, because you get a little bit of both worlds. So you're actually doing grant accounting, you're doing accounting, and you're helping that PI who is discovering the new and best drug. So you're also part of that team.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
This is the end of my video. This entire filming process has been a learning experience. If it had not been for my shadowing with attorney Nora at Legal Aid this past summer, I would have never had the idea to do this project. I greatly enjoyed each of the interviews and their advice. I know that I will look back years from now when I am well into my career and appreciate the knowledge and exposure I gained from the making of this film. Thank you for watching.